The strange thing is, I didn't feel fear. In fact, I didn't feel anything like pain or panic. Instead, I felt like I was floating, weightless, calm, and separated from everything I had ever known. I looked down and saw my own body lying there on the ground, surrounded by the other teens and one of our group leaders performing chest compressions. Their faces were panicked and screaming, but I couldn't hear them. I felt like I was slowly drifting away from the scene, almost like someone had picked me up and started carrying me upward. Then I saw this tunnel, this unbelievable tunnel made of light. It wasn't made of glass or stone, but of something alive. Like flowing water made of light, soft blue and glowing. I reached out to touch it, and when I did, I felt something rush through me. Not electricity this time, but love. Warm, overwhelming, impossible to describe love. At the end of the tunnel was something even more impossible. It was a garden, no, more than a garden. It was like heaven was blooming all around me. Flowers with colors I've never seen on earth, air that carried music instead of sound, and trees that responded to the wind with song. I was surrounded by peace, and I knew deep in my soul I wasn't dreaming. Then I saw him. A man was standing near a stream, looking straight at me. I didn't speak with my mouth, but somehow I thought, "But I'm Jewish. Why am I seeing you?" It was the only thing that made sense to ask. And he laughed, not in a mocking way, but like music, like wind chimes in the summer breeze. He said, "David, I've been with you your whole life." And the moment he said that, I remembered things, moments I had felt protected, times I should have been hurt or lost but wasn't. I didn't just hear those words, I knew them. I knew he had been watching over me since I took my first breath. He reached out his hand to me and said, "Come, there are things I need to show you." And just like that, the garden faded and we were standing on the edge of a mountain, higher than anything I've ever seen. Below us, the land of Israel stretched out like a painting, golden and glowing with a pulse like a heartbeat. I saw the hills, the cities, the people. Then the light around the land began to dim, and clouds started to swirl over Jerusalem. I watched as the sky turned darker and darker. Armies began to gather near the city, their weapons aimed, their faces filled with hate. People were running, crying out, looking for safety. I could see leaders of different nations watching from a distance, doing nothing. Some of them had once promised to protect Israel, but now they looked away. "Many will abandon her." His voice was calm, but there was a deep sorrow in it. "My people will suffer, but I have not forgotten them." The scene felt so real, like I was there. I could feel the fear, the pressure, the betrayal. But also, something deeper. Like hope was hiding just beneath the storm. Then the vision changed again. I saw the American flag, faded and torn, waving in the middle of a large crowd. People were yelling and arguing. And standing in the middle of it all, looking tired but unmoved, was President Trump. Jesus said, "This man has been chosen for this time. Not because he is perfect, he is far from perfect, but because he will not abandon my people when the world turns its back." I didn't know what to say. My family didn't like Trump. Most people I knew thought he was loud and divisive. I said, "But he says such awful things sometimes. How can he be chosen?" Jesus looked at me with sadness and said, "I do not choose as men choose. I look at the heart. And when the world aligns against Israel, he will stand firm. That is why he is here in this time." After that, everything shifted again, and suddenly we were back in Jerusalem, but it wasn't like I had ever seen it before. There were people everywhere, gathered around the Western Wall, the Kotel, but they weren't just Jews. There were Christians, Muslims, people in all kinds of different clothing from countries I couldn't even name. But they weren't fighting. They weren't arguing. They were praying together. Some were standing. Some were weeping. Some were singing. And there was this powerful sense of peace, like something holy was stitching all of them together. Jesus turned to me and said, "This too is coming. After the darkness, there will be a new dawn. Many will begin to understand that they've been calling out to the same God, even if they've used different names." The tears started falling from my eyes right there. I wasn't just watching history, I was seeing the future. A future where peace wasn't forced by politics, but born from truth. "When will this happen?" I asked him. He looked at me, not with a date or a timeline, but with gentleness. "Sooner than many think," he said. "But not as soon as some hope. The path is not easy. My people, both those who follow me now and those who still await me, must walk a road of courage." His words hit deep. I could feel that he wasn't just talking about governments or leaders. He was talking about everyday people, families, mothers, fathers, children, people like me. Then his face became serious, like he needed to warn me. "There is something else you must understand," he said. "The leader of Israel, a man not yet in power, will soon rise. And when he does, he will be given a choice. A choice between fear and faith." And then I saw it, a large wooden table in a massive room, surrounded by powerful men and women. Sitting in the center was a man I didn't recognize, but somehow I knew he would be the Prime Minister of Israel. He looked exhausted, weighed down. His hands were shaking. He was surrounded by world leaders urging him to make a deal, a peace agreement. But Jesus whispered, "They will tell him to divide the land. But there is no true peace in dividing what I have made whole." I wanted to speak, to ask more, but I was overwhelmed. My heart was racing. How could I possibly remember all this? How could I explain it to anyone? But before I even had the chance to voice the fear, Jesus looked right into me and said, "Don't be afraid. You don't need to remember everything right now. When the time comes, my Spirit will bring the words back to you." His voice was so comforting, so steady. It didn't feel like pressure. It felt like a promise. I knew in that moment that I had a mission. That this wasn't just something I saw for myself. It was something I had to share. As soon as he said those words, I felt something pulling me backward. It was like being gently swept up in a current, but it was stronger than anything I could resist. I didn't want to leave. I turned to Jesus, begging, "Please let me stay. I feel more alive here than I ever did back there." The pain, the confusion, the fear of the world, it was all gone in this place. This was home. This was safety. But he stepped toward me, placed his hands on my shoulders, and I felt something like fire and water rush through my entire chest. "Your family needs you," he said. "Israel needs your testimony. This is not goodbye. I am with you always, even to the end of the age." I looked into his eyes one last time. They didn't just show me love, they showed me truth. And then he said something I'll never forget. His voice echoed all around me, even though he barely whispered it. "Tell them that I am coming soon. Not as a baby this time, but as a king." And just like that, I was being pulled back through the tunnel. The colors blurred, the music faded, and everything turned dark. Then, all at once, I heard voices, real voices, yelling my name, saying, "He's back! He's breathing!" My eyes shot open. Pain surged through my body. I couldn't move, and I could barely breathe.